The Three Wise Men. In the ancient lands of the East, where scholars studied the heavens and sought wisdom in the stars, three men noticed something extraordinary. A star, unlike any they had ever seen, blazed brightly in the western sky. These three wise men were Melchior, an elderly scholar with a long white beard, Caspar, a middle-aged astronomer with keen eyes, and Balthazar, a younger teacher with a thoughtful spirit. Melchior pointed to the sky and said to his companions, "Brothers, do you see what I see? This is no ordinary star. The ancient prophecies speak of such a sign." Caspar nodded thoughtfully. "A king has been born, a king of the Jews if the scriptures of their prophets are true." Balthazar added with determination, "Then we must find him. We must bring gifts worthy of a king and pay him homage." And so began a journey that would span many weeks, through scorching deserts and treacherous mountain passes. The wise men traveled with a caravan, bringing with them precious gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. They crossed endless sand dunes, rested at occasional oases, and navigated rocky terrain, all while the star remained constant above them, guiding their path. During one rest stop, Melchior asked his companions, "How far we have come, and yet how much farther we must go. Tell me, Caspar, what made you leave your comfortable observatory to follow a star?" Caspar replied, "Knowledge without purpose is empty, my friend. If this child is who the prophecies say he is, then witnessing his coming will be the greatest discovery of our lives. What of you, Balthazar? You left behind students who depended on your teaching." Balthazar answered thoughtfully, "Some lessons can only be learned through action, not words. I had to see for myself. But I confess, there are moments when I wonder if we've been foolish. What if we're wrong?" Melchior smiled reassuringly. "Then we will have taken a long journey and learned humility. But I do not believe we are wrong. The star does not lie." Each night, they would study their ancient texts and track the star's position. Each day brought them closer to their destination, and their anticipation grew with every mile. At last, they arrived in Jerusalem, the great city of the Jews. Surely, they thought, this was where a newborn king would be found. They began to ask questions throughout the city. Balthazar approached a merchant and asked, "Good sir, we have traveled from the east following a star. Can you tell us where we might find the child who has been born King of the Jews?" The merchant looked puzzled. "King of the Jews? We have no new king. Herod rules here as he has for many years." Caspar questioned a group of priests. "We seek the one whose star we saw rising. Where is the newborn king?" One priest responded with concern, "You speak of dangerous things, stranger. There is only one king here, and he does not take kindly to rivals." Word of these foreign visitors and their strange questions quickly reached the palace of King Herod. The paranoid ruler, who had killed even members of his own family to protect his throne, was deeply disturbed by this news. He paced nervously in his palace, surrounded by his advisors, and commanded, "A new king, born under a star. Summon these visitors to me at once, and bring me the chief priests and scribes. I want to know what prophecies they speak of." The three wise men were escorted into Herod's grand throne room. Herod sat on his throne, attempting to appear welcoming but with thinly veiled anxiety. "Welcome, welcome, esteemed travelers from the East. I hear you bring news of great interest. A new king, you say?" Melchior bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, we have followed a star from our homeland. Our studies of the ancient prophecies led us to believe it heralds the birth of the King of the Jews. We have come to worship him and bring gifts." Herod responded with forced interest, "How fascinating." Then turning to his advisors, he demanded, "What do our scriptures say about this?" The chief priest answered, "Your Majesty, the prophet Micah wrote, 'But you, Bethlehem, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel.'" Herod's eyes narrowed for a moment before he recovered his composure. "Bethlehem, of course, how could I forget?" He stood and approached the wise men, placing a hand on Melchior's shoulder in a gesture that seemed friendly but felt menacing. "My dear friends, you must be weary from your journey. Please go to Bethlehem, just a few miles south of here. Search carefully for this child. And when you find him, I want you to return here and bring me word. For I, too, wish to go and worship him. Surely, as king of this land, I should pay my respects to such a significant child." The three wise men exchanged glances. Something in Herod's demeanor troubled them, but they could not refuse a king's request. Caspar responded, "As you wish, your majesty. We will return with news." Herod smiled broadly. "Excellent, excellent. Go with my blessing. May you find what you seek." The wise men left the palace, but something troubled them. Melchior had seen many rulers in his long life, and he recognized the look in Herod's eyes. It was not devotion he saw there, but fear and jealousy. As they traveled through the countryside toward Bethlehem as evening approached, Balthazar remarked, "Did you notice the way Herod looked when he heard of Bethlehem? His hands trembled." Melchior nodded gravely. "I noticed. That man does not wish to worship this child. He sees him as a threat." Caspar asked with concern, "What should we do? We cannot refuse a king's command." Melchior replied wisely, "We promised to search for the child. We did not promise when we would return. Let us find him first and see what wisdom guides us then." Suddenly they looked up. The star they had been following now seemed to stop, shining brilliantly over a small village ahead. Balthazar exclaimed in awe, "Look, the star, it's directly above that house." Their hearts filled with joy and wonder. After all their travels, all their searching, they had finally arrived. The star that had guided them across deserts and mountains now hung like a lantern over a humble dwelling in the little town of Bethlehem. The wise men dismounted and approached the simple house where light glowed warmly from within. They knocked gently. Mary opened the door, holding the infant Jesus. Joseph stood behind her. Their surroundings were modest but clean. Mary asked, "Yes, can I help you?" The three wise men immediately fell to their knees, bowing low. Melchior spoke with deep reverence. "We have traveled far to see the child. We saw his star in the east and have come to worship him." Mary, surprised but gracious, invited them in. The wise men entered and presented their gifts. Caspar said, "I bring gold for a king." Balthazar offered, "I bring frankincense for one who is divine." Melchior presented his gift, saying, "And I bring myrrh, though my heart hesitates at its meaning, for this is used in burial." The wise men spent time with the Holy Family, and as they looked upon the child, peace filled their hearts. In that humble room, the wise men found what they had been seeking. Not in a palace, not surrounded by servants and guards, but in the arms of a young mother, wrapped in simple cloths, was the king they had journeyed so far to find. And somehow, they knew with certainty that this child was indeed the fulfillment of ancient prophecies. That night the wise men slept in a nearby inn. In their dreams, an angel appeared to them with an urgent message. "Do not return to Herod. He seeks to destroy the child. Take another route home and speak of this to no one." The wise men woke simultaneously, each having had the same dream. Caspar asked, "You had the dream too?" Melchior and Balthazar responded together, "Yes." Melchior declared, "Then it is settled. We leave at dawn, but not through Jerusalem. We take the eastern road back to our lands." Balthazar questioned, "And what of Herod's command?" Melchior answered firmly, "We answer to a higher king now. We have found him, and we will not betray him to a tyrant." Dawn broke, and the three wise men traveled away from Bethlehem on a different road, keeping the location of the child secret from Herod. The star faded as the sun rose. And so the three wise men returned to their homelands by another route. They had left their homes as scholars and seekers. They returned as witnesses to something greater than all their learning, something that would echo through the ages. They had seen the King of Kings in swaddling clothes, and their lives were forever changed. As for Herod, He waited in vain for their return. But that is another story, one of darkness and tragedy. But on this night, in this moment, hope had been born in Bethlehem, and 3 wise men had been blessed to witness it. The journey that had begun with a star in the east had ended with them beholding the light of the world, and nothing would ever be the same.